Is Kody really your dad?
Yes, Kody
No.
is really my dad. So a lot of people think that I moved to Flagstaff with my family. I moved out of mom's house before they moved to Flagstaff. I never moved to Flagstaff. I moved from Vegas to St. George, and I'm happy I did. I'm like, honestly, I tell mom all the time, the second best thing she ever did for me was kick me out. That was the second best thing she ever did for me.
Yeah.
She told me I couldn't come with her, and I was
Hey everyone! It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's April 25th. It's Monday. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We just finished up a video on Anna Duggar. Did you hear that? Like, boom. Okay. So, and now over the weekend, Robyn Brown was on Instagram doing a live stream. My goodness, this boy is trying to build his social media. You know, he was on his Instagram and he flat out admitted he's doing all of these lives to sort of build his audience. And hey, if it builds your audience to spill some of the tea, I'm here for it because it's giving insight into the family that we haven't had like literally ever, because no one in the family actually talks or, you know, answers questions. They're all very elusive. And Robyn, who's not really on the show anymore, has no problem spilling the tea. So a couple things that he talked about in this live stream. By the way, it was like 2.5 hours. I think there's like an hour and a half that's been posted onto his page on Instagram. So if you want to follow it and watch the whole thing, you can. I want to just make a caveat here that Robyn was with friends and extremely distractible. So during the live stream, one of the friends was reading the comments and then they were asking Robyn and then Robyn was responding. Robyn also had a young woman who happens to be a friend sitting right next to him. And so like, because there was all these people in the room, they easily got distracted. They were like, he would answer and then he wouldn't expand and he would get distracted and then he would ask something else. And then he was getting up to go use the restroom like 3 times. Yeah, it was a mess.
I can't fix it for him. I can try to persuade. I can try to influence. I can beg. I can.
Couple things kept coming up in the comments and then the questions about the family. And obviously, because there's been a divorce, there has been so many questions about, is your dad gonna take a new wife? Is he gonna court? Is he courting anyone? And Robyn was very elusive. So there was a point during the live that the roommate kept asking people not to ask the question because they kept saying if he is or if he isn't. It's not Robyn's story to tell. And I was like, instead of saying like flat out no, it was like if he is or if he isn't. And I was like, whoa, is there something to this? There could be. There's been a lot of rumors that Kody is maybe going to be looking to bring in a couple more wives. And I mean, I guess I wouldn't be surprised. Now, they did ask Robyn, like, are you worried about your dad trying to court any girlfriends that you have? And Robyn said that no, he is not worried. He would never allow his dad to hit on any girl that he is interested in. And he also said that he will never live as a polygamist. Robyn flat out said that he has known since he's been 5 years old how messed up polygamy is and that he wanted nothing to do with it. It sounds like Robyn and his dad have a very complicated relationship. In fact, it seems like Kody and Robyn are distant and that he has a better relationship with his mom. At one point during the live, Robyn actually said, if anyone has a close relationship with their dad, I always think it's weird. Like, I'm sure in their world, they don't spend as much time with their fathers because their dads are bouncing around from woman to woman to woman. You know, I'm on season 7, and they just moved into their houses, and now we're dealing with like Mary and Cody's relationship, and are they going to have a baby and all of that. And my husband and I were watching it last night, and my husband cannot stand Cody, by the way. And my husband totally takes one for the team, you guys. He watches these shows with me to entertain me and to keep me like happy, but he just like his commentary during the show is hysterical. And he was watching Cody just act like a total buffoon, and he was just like, I think it would be really hard to be a guy and have all of these relationships. He's like, I know it's not easy on the women, and I know the women get the short end of the stick because they have to share their husband. But he said, as a man, I can't imagine having more than one wife. It would be physically draining. Not only to have to deal with like all the different family issues, but having to go from woman to woman to woman and then deal with the interpersonal relationships. He's like, this family is so fake. And if I were Cody, I would just be tired. And I'm like, you've got a good point. And that's, again, why we are so happy we are monogamists. Yay! Okay, so that was just my little caveat about my husband. Anyways, interestingly, during this same live stream, he talked about his mom and the divorce. So there was a point during the live stream where someone asked about his mom's divorce and like, why did she finally leave Cody? And, they were so happy to see her thriving and doing well.
When you, in the church I was raised in, if you want to leave your husband or your wives or your wife or whatever, you need to go to the elders of the church and say, I would like to leave this particular relationship. And then you need to if you're legally married to them, you need to go to the legal side of it. My mom was not legally married to my dad, and my mom left the church a while ago. So my mom said adios and left. My mom didn't need permission to not be with him anymore. And that's how it works.
During the tell-all, Christine sort of was like alluding to the fact that at some point in time, she sort of changed and she stopped being like super appeasing to Cody, and that really changed their dynamic. And then the addition of Robyn sort of made her jealous and made it harder for her to sort of like deal with his time and the fact that she didn't have as much time with him. But when it comes to Peyton, his opinion is that his mother left his father because his mother watched his dad fall in love with Robyn, and she realized that he loved Robyn more than her. They had a relationship that was far different than theirs, and that they were actually in love. And so he said she like checked out after about 5 years. So 5 years ago, he says, his mom checked out of the relationship, and then she left 5 years later.
Mom found out that dad found the woman that he loves and is supposed to be with. Mom got upset. Mom moved on. 5 years later,
That's a handsome
Mom
Jesus.
moved on.
That's a handsome Jesus.
So,
Were they talking about that one?
Mom's known for a long time that dad loves Robyn and loved Mom, but it's not the same anymore. So Mom's like, okay, that's what it is. And then several years later, Mom's like, you know what? I am done with this. Deuces.
Past 5 years, it's Peyton's belief that his mom has been sort of checked out of the relationship, and the reason why she left was because of Robyn. That's what he says. And he says that he doesn't blame his dad for finding the woman that he loves and for Robyn to find a guy to love her, but it sounds like Christine just wasn't going to put up with it. Peyton also said that Janelle is still with Cody. She said that at this point, Janelle is not leaving Cody, but he didn't, he kind of left it up in the air, maybe it could happen, I'm not sure. Peyton was also pretty clear that he has some strained relationships with some of his siblings, but he also has good relationships with others, and was very adamant that he has a very good relationship with his older sister, McKelty, and his brother, Garrison. When it comes to his tension with Gwendolyn, this part I thought was really interesting. So Peyton said that he didn't go to the party for Christine. And he made this comment he was like, well, obviously because of who was there, and I'm assuming he means Gwendolyn. So Gwendolyn and Peyton do not like each other, and Gwendolyn is mad at Peyton because Peyton apparently hit her. And he's also just sort of said some things that are not super kind on social media, and they've had some arguments over politics. But I would assume that Gwendolyn not feeling safe around Peyton, perhaps Christine is trying to appease her daughter to keep her daughter feeling safe. And not to mention the fact that Peyton lives far away, so it wouldn't be super hard to not include him because he's not in town anyway. But he did mention that at the same time he was up there around that time, and he went and had lunch with his sister Aspen, and he said everything was wonderful. So there's apparently some issues with Peyton and his siblings, but no love lost between his mom and him. But he and Gwendolyn have a long way to go. Now, in terms of the land, he did say that his mom sold or got her part sold, so she's not a part of the property down in Coyote Pass. And asked in whether or not they'll actually build there, he is not convinced.
I have no idea if building on Coyote Pass has started. I don't tend to look into Coyote Pass ever. Like, everything that comes up about it, I'm like, okay. And I move on. I'm sorry. I don't care about Coyote Pass.
Is Janelle divorcing Kody too?
Janelle's currently still with Dad. And I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. I know how you feel about that, but Janelle's currently still with Dad, and it's okay.
So his opinion is that his dad gets really, he gets like the 7-year itch. And so he says that he just doesn't think that Kody will end up building there. It's been like 3 years or something, 4 years that they've owned this property. No building has started. They're certainly not going to do the one home. And they don't have any plans at this point right now to build. So he thinks that they're going to end up leaving Flagstaff before they end up building. He says his dad moves about every 7 years like clockwork, and so he imagines that they'll just end up moving. Where they'll go, who knows? Now, in terms of how Christine is doing, she's apparently doing really well. She's very happy, and she's just moving forward with her life. And finally, he did say that the family is currently filming, and so more seasons of Sister Wives are coming up. He did not say like any details about when the season would be coming. He just mentioned that they are filming. And then when asked about like how much money they made, he said he had no clue. He just knew that they had food in the refrigerator, and that's all that mattered to him. I'm assuming that means that he made no money and that the money all went to Kody and to the parents. And they said that his parents have been working, all these years. They get their money from Sister Wives. They have all of their different businesses. He talked about Christine's business, LuLaRoe, which has been very successful for her, and she loves it. Finally, after we talked about the businesses, he did say that he does not speak to Robyn or to Mary, but he has no hard feelings. He just says that he has nothing to talk to them about. So he just doesn't have the need to reach out to them. He said he loves Robyn's kids. Obviously, they're his siblings. But in terms of having a tight relationship with Robyn, the answer is no. And same with Mary. He literally said that he's never been to her B&B, and he has no plans to ever go. Ouch. So he's kind of ripping this facade off, and he is a controversial one. Some fans just do not like him. They think that what happened between him and Gwendolyn is unacceptable, so they don't really care what he says. Other fans are just glad to hear a different side of the story, so they're not so like, oh my gosh, all we get is what's happening on TV. He did admit that everything on the show is very exaggerated, and some information is just made to be a bigger deal, like a way bigger deal than it actually is. And then other things are just completely left out that are either not relevant or not dramatic or won't add any value to the show. But overall, it's not, he said it's true because it's their lives, but it's a very exaggerated version of their lives. Kody is probably never going to build at Coyote Pass. Those are all Peyton's teas. You can check out his Instagram for the whole video. It's like an hour and a half long. I hope you enjoy. That's my recap. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.